squeaky chair. Let's start putting these here motors on, shall we? I saved you all the unboxing of them. If you want me to, I'll put it in some bonus footage. No, I'm just kidding. I didn't even record that shit. You're not getting no bonus footage. I mean, opening no fucking motors. All right, so the motors themselves obviously came with the prop nut, and it looks like they came with 8mm screws also. But this here frame, oh wait, let me back up. All right, we're getting ready to do the build part of the videos now, of the series or whatever. I'm not sure if I'll put these together or I'll probably do them separate because they're a little long and I don't want y'all to get bored. That way, if somebody doesn't want to see the frame put together, they can just skip to this build part. So there's that. So I got to be perfectly honest with you. The way these motors go on, if you watched my last video, 2 of them use an M9 screw in these holes that have the shoulders on them. And then the ones without the shoulders, they give us some M8s with some little washers to go down in there. I'm not sure why they did that. If it's some kind of advantage. I'm no structural engineer by any means. Hell, I'm not even that goddamn smart. But I gotta tell you, I'm gonna build this the way the kit has it so that you guys are getting the same experience as me if you get one of these. But if I get another one, if I like this frame and the way it flies and it holds up, so far I'm really liking it. Now that I've figured out how to build this, I can put this thing together in no time flat, I am sure. But I would use like my little go-to skids that I have here and use all the same size M8s all the way through there, so that if I lose one in the field, I always keep a little pack of assorted screws in my backpack. I can just grab another M8 and throw it in there instead of having to monkey around with little washers, M8s, and M9s. But that being said, I haven't lost a motor screw in a long damn time. Now that I said that, I'm sure I will lose one. So we'll put this here to the side for now in our little keeper pile over here of the spare stuff that we have in the motor container, and get to this. So here's the M9s. We'll open these guys up. Here's a little something for you. Over here, this is a little magnetic pad that I keep, so that when I open things like that, I can just throw them on there and they'll stay in their respective little pile. So they're separated out. So we'll take the M8s and throw them over there too. See, now I got my pile of M8s and my pile of M9s, and it looks like they gave us enough of these M8s if we wanted to go with all M8s all throughout there. We could definitely do that. They gave us enough washers too. So I'm not sure, but we're gonna find out right now. These here little washers, I should probably find something to dump them in, because if I stick them on the magnet, I'm gonna have to pick them up with the damn tweezers, because my big fat ass freaking fingers can't grab little shit like that off a magnet. Here's the motor box, the Toka. We'll use that for these. I'm still gonna have to pick them up with the dang tweezers, or I gotta lick my finger and stick one on there. There's no way I can pick those little guys up. Anyway, we're just gonna put one motor on here so you guys can see, and then obviously I'll do the rest of them off camera, because no, you don't need to see all 4 motors going on. That will be boring as fuck. That's interesting. Anywho, how are we gonna do this here? I guess we'll stick the M9s in first. It is kind of cool that they put thread lock on them already. I am a fan of thread lock on motors, always. I always thread lock my motors. We'll put the M9s in there first, so that we just put these in just like everything else. We just put them in a little loose. That's kind of bent down there, you see that? The other one's like that? Yeah, I guess they're all like that. Gonna have to kind of squish it on there. No big deal. It does have a little separator right there, so that's cool. And it has the shield on the motor like I showed you guys. So we're just gonna get these M9s started in the holes. We'll pull them down a little bit. Oh, Jesus. Look at that. I put the freaking motor on backwards. What a nincompoop. I always do stupid shit like that on camera. So I'm really trying to pay attention to what I'm doing, guys and gals. I think there's one girl that watches my channel sometimes. I hope. I wish there was more girls that flew. I know a couple of badass female pilots, and they have a certain flair that us clunky males don't. Anyway, so now we get one of these here little washers. Stick it on there. I don't know what the purpose behind all this nonsense is, but that's what it says to do, so that's what we're gonna do. And see what happens. Does it like pinch in the hole when it goes in there? It just kind of, maybe it's the whole, maybe there's two of them open so it holds the motor flat to the carbon fiber on two holes. I mean, this offers some tip protection out here, but I don't really care. I've super glued these broken tips back together or left them smushed for freaking ever and never had a problem. Not to mention you can just buy a freaking spare arm if it gets that bad. I do like, I'm gonna say something here. I do like using these. Like, these don't have a full base, right? So when you use, I like skids, number one, and when you clamp these together over the carbon fiber, it holds that freaking arm together nice and tight. So you do sometimes end up dinging the tip, but it overall holds this structure, you know, makes more structure on the structure. Structures up the structure. All right, so that's bottomed out. Oh shit, forgot one. Let's hope it goes in there without having to loosen the other one. They should be lined up now, I would think. These are some pretty nice screws, I must say. These button heads, they got like a big flat, they're not like your common button head, like these guys. Right, they got a bigger head on them. Very everything looks so freaking quality, man. I'm very impressed so far with the quality of this thing, I have to admit. Maybe I should have tried some diatone products long ago. A couple guys already commented on my last video that they've had awesome luck with the Mamba stack and all that stuff, so that's cool. Okay, and then what I do when I get them down in there flush, like I've been turning nuts and bolts for so long that I can pretty much torque something to the exact same feel all the way around. But what I'll do is I'll walk around this thing, because as you tighten one, the others are gonna come loose until I have them all at the same feel. And then after flying this a few times, I will always go back and check these, especially when you have a skid on there or a plastic cover part. Because as this motor gets hot and those screws get warm, even though it doesn't get hot, just getting a little warm, it'll they'll sink into that plastic or ABS or TPU or whatever you're using a little bit more. So always go back and double check those. All right, so there's that. Let's get the rest of the motors on this bad boy, and then we'll carry on with the build. Those motors sure are pretty. I hope they hold up and work okay. Alright, so that is pretty darn sexy, I must say. I hope these motors hold up. They are pretty beautiful. Quad looks pretty darn good. I know at one time Diatone made some motors that had like silver winding in them or whatever, high-end motors. I forget what the name of them were, but they were held in very high regard amongst the community. So now it's time to put the ESC on and get that mounted up, and then we can start soldering our wires up in there. Jalapeno. So what I wanted to show you guys, the Mamba stack is M2 stack. It's got the little M2 screws in there, but it comes with this little plate which has little dimples on it. I showed it in my last segment when we were building this frame, and it's actually threaded. And on the other side, I put one in there already so it wouldn't wiggle around so much, so I wasn't monkeying around, so I could show you guys fairly easy. So we're going to take our M2 stack screw here, and then it comes with these little inserts. Let me get it on here and then I'll show you. So it converts the M3 hole to an M2 hole, and then when you put it through here, it's going to sit inside the M3 hole and hold the M2 steady, and then the little plate on the other side is actually threaded, so it's going to hold everything in place. That is a freaking cool idea. That is fantastic. The only gripe I have about these is that they're Phillips instead of being a 1.5 or an M2 driver. So it's going to be the only screws on this whole quad that are a different drive. So look at that. Then it goes in there nice and neat and tight. Also, the Mamba stack comes with a ton of these little silicone washers to go in between everything. Maybe to soft mount. I don't know if I should have put them. Maybe I should have put them in here. No, it won't matter because the whole board is soft mounted, right? So it won't matter. But I will say those little silicone washers were all static clinged up inside the frickin' baggie and a real pain in the butt to get out of there. I'll tell you what. So, we got two more of these little guys here to put in there. Don't lose it. I want to look at this a little closer. No, it looks like just the head of the screw sits in there. I was wondering if they gave, there's an awful lot of them silicone grommets. I wonder if one's supposed to sit inside of there. Let me look at this under the magnifying glass over here so I can see. Nah, just the head of the screw sits down in there. And like I said, the stack itself has rubber mounts on it anyway. So I'm sure those little silicone guys are useful for something. Maybe when you actually use it on a frame that has actual M2s, so you can soft mount them in there or something like that. I'm going to use them though on the other side of this just for shits and giggles. So that is really cool. Makes a nice, neat, tight little stack on that frame. I said I'll say it. I said it before and I'll say it again. So far I'm very impressed with the thought and technology that has gone into this frame and this Mamba stack. It's really freaking cool. So now you see the little plate. It had the little dimples on there to go down inside the M3, and it's freaking threaded. That is brilliant. Instead of just sitting in there and then you have to try to get a nut on there or something to hold it down in there, it screws all down in there nice and tight. That is awesome. So just for the crap of it, I'm gonna throw some of these little silicone grommets down on here. Why not? Couldn't hurt, right? I mean, I'm pretty sure I don't even really need them or anything like that, because I'm pretty sure this ESC is going to have plenty of clearance. So let's pull it off of here and unplug it. There's a little message on here. What does it say? Oh, it's got the specs on there. 40x4, soft mounted, Target Mamba, F4 Mini Pro, input 3 to 6S, blah 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 blah. 8.5, 2 volt. Yeah, okay. We'll stick that over here somewhere in case we need to look at it later for some reason. Let's unplug this and get this ESC on there. And then it will be time to wet the sponge. I do believe our battery lead is going to come out of the back. I certainly hope so. Right, does this have board orientation on it? See, this has a little sticker on it on what it is. The Mini FC DJI. This plugs into the front like that, so that's how it's going to go together. And yeah, there's the little arrow right there that says that way's forward, so that is correct. We always want to double check that before we start soldering. One thing I see though, I guess I may have to take those little silicone guys off the bottom, because there's not going to be enough room otherwise to get both stacks onto those screws. There may not even be ones. There's plenty of clearance on the bottom, that's for sure. Let's get those little guys back off of there. I may even need to flip these grommets over. No, that's not going to matter. It's still going to be the length. Grommets are still going to be the same length, right? I do have some longer. Yeah, see, it's just barely where it won't go through there. I don't think this was meant to, and they didn't give us any longer screws with it. I don't think this was really meant to go on such a thick, large build. But we'll get that sorted out, no problem. That's so close. I'm tempted to just screw those on there a little bit. But like, there's a ton of clearance on the bottom. Way more than we need. You see in there? It's definitely not going to touch anything. So, I'm thinking I might just clip these. Did they give us shorter ones? They didn't give us shorter ones. They only gave us longer ones. And one spare screw. I believe these are longer than these purple ones. Actually, they're exactly the same, it looks like. But that's okay. That's all good. Let me get in my stuff over here and find the longer M2 screws I have somewhere. So I have these longer ones here. I think these might even be, yeah, see, these are M2s. So let's get these guys out of here. Swap them out. Don't lose that little thing.
We'll run one in here to make sure it's going to be long enough before it carry on. See, this is why I'm preferring another 1.5, because now I can use this guy. So twist it. Oh, yeah, see, that was significantly longer. I'm going to be playing long. For what I need to do.
All right, so there is that. So now let's see. Should fit on there beautifully. That little bit of extra screwage. Looking good. There is the ESC. And there's the FC, and we got just a little nipple sticking out to get the nuts on at the end, if we even need them. I mean, these things are on there pretty freaking tight. I probably could have used those original screws and just left it on there like so. Maybe put a drop of thread lock on the end or something so that they don't slide off. But I mean, that's pretty freaking tight. I doubt it would just like bounce off of there very easily at all. It would take a pretty significant crash. So yeah, might be able to use the originals and then just like put some blue thread lock down on the screws or something to hold it there. But I don't know, you guys can do whatever the fuck you want to do. I wonder if this, I mean, this is something we'll get to later. I don't know, whoa. My prop nuts. Prop nuts are definitely aluminum because they're not sticking to my magnet. We don't need this here tool right now. So let's get that out of the way. Does it say where it goes? I mean, I guess I would put it, just says interference isolation. I mean, I guess I would put it right here. Because ESCs make a lot of noise. I mean, I've never had an issue with it before, but what the hell? So there's that. And our air unit is going to pop on here. I'm going to run that wire in between the boards because there's a ton of room in there to squeeze them in there with our air unit cam up front. Like so. Cool. It's all coming together nicely. All right, so next up, we're gonna wet the sponge and heat up the soldering iron, the old soldering iron, and get to soldering. Figure out how I want to route these wires. They did give us the little things to slide the wires through on the arms. Maybe I'll use those, I don't know. I kind of like to just tape them on there. Let's see. Let's see what they look like. I mean, they're like super light, so they're not going to add any more weight than a piece of tape, I don't think. But how much protection are they actually going to provide from a prop strike? Because I don't want to have to be desoldering everything and sliding them out of here to fix something when I could just cut off a piece of tape. You know what I'm saying? Y'all know what I mean. Y'all know what I mean, though? You know what I'm saying? I have the 3M double-sided tape on one side. So, because I'm really OCD about my wires. They have to be neat and straight and in line. So can we get them in here neat and straight and in line without them all getting crunched up? I guess it's just a sleeve. It doesn't have like 3 grooves in it. But if we're going to use it, we have to decide right now before we fire up the soldering iron. I don't know. I guess those are pretty cool, huh? Because it goes all the way up against there to protect all the way into the end. So if I slide it up tight against that motor, it's off of the shoulder of the arm. It just fits in there like a glove. And if the prop bends down, ding, 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 no way it's gonna go through that. Yeah, I think I am gonna use those. I think that's a pretty neat little solution right there. So what I better do is slide all of them on there right now, or I will forget once I start soldering, and I'll solder one up without it on there. That's a guarantee. I mean, motor wire order doesn't matter that much these days because you can just reverse everything and be all helly. In the old days when they first came out with the reverse thing, sometimes it would screw up. So we always swapped the wires anyway and didn't use the reverse motor feature because it wasn't reliable. But now there's no issue with it. So we got those other nice and fine. Yeah, I kind of like that, to be honest. I mean, if something does go wrong, I'm gonna have to desolder all 3 wires to get this thing off. There's no way to cut it off without cutting a motor wire or anything like that. But I don't foresee anything happening there. And I kind of want to use as much of the original stuff as possible to see what happens. See if it works out or not, so I can give you guys my full report. The wires are all crunked up, so I can't just shove them through there. They have to be in perfect order. So that when I solder these, I go 1, 2, 3, and then I switch these 2 because these 2 motors, 2 and 4, are always the ones that need to be reversed. Hey, you know what? I got to take that back because I've never used this ESC before. So that may not be the case. So I'm just going to solder them all in line and then reverse whichever ones need to be reversed. But for the longest time, I've used the Hobby Wing ESCs. The G2C BL Helis or whatever, minis. And they, that's the order I always solder them in. Here's a 30x30 one, but you guys know which one I'm talking about. And actually, the last quad I built was the QAVR with that iFlight mini stack in it. iFlight Mini F7. Like I said, they're basically the same if they have the same chipset. I believe this is F7 with the MPU 6000. which they're not making anymore, but I'm sure there's still a ton of them out there. And that MPU 6000 is like the best gyro ever of all time that has ever happened. We used to have the 6050s and the 6500s that were super noisy. Everybody always looked for the MPU 6000. Not that there's anything wrong with the new gyros, the ICMs or whatever they're called that are coming out now. 22, 28, 2008s or whatever, I'm not even sure, but you guys know what I mean, or you can look it up. But the MPU 6000 is still the king, in my opinion, and in many others that have actually like put them on spectrographs and stuff. All right, so there's that, and enough freaking talking. It's time to wet the sponge and fire up the irons and get to soldering. All right. So while we're waiting on the soldering iron to heat up, I guess the next thing to do is figure out where we want to put the battery lead. So I like to do that before I solder the motors up. Here's the little wires they gave us. Looks like just enough to pop out like the side here. Because those wires aren't very long. You know what, you guys? I just thought of something. When I put this together, and when I put another one together, this is what I'm gonna do. Instead of running these all the way through, like I did there, because these arms are slotted, right? So that will go inside the little slot. I can use the original bolts, screws that came with it, and put them through this top, just this top plate first. So I'll eliminate all that space. So you guys won't have to search around for longer screws. I'll just put them in that top plate before I put the frame together, because that little thing down in there is threaded, so it's not gonna go anywhere. Yeah, that'll work. Because they'll fit down inside that slot in the arm down there, no problem. That's what I'm gonna do. Then I can use the original screws. Cool. See, I don't do a whole lot of these build videos because I'm pretty bad at like planning things out and scripting things. I always shoot everything raw from the hip, so I hope you guys are enjoying me fumbling through this with y'all. Like I did, I actually did a whole build video on this all-in-one success board, but if you guys saw that, I didn't post the build video because the quad didn't fly worth a crap, so I just wasted my freaking time doing that. Get rid of that board. We don't need that up here bugging us. Anyway, where were we? Battery lead. Let's put the battery lead together first. So a little tip when you're doing these battery leads, what I do is I take a little pair of pliers and turn these things, because they're loose in there, so that they're both facing up. So they make little cups for the solder, like so. So it makes it a lot easier just to lay your pool of solder in there and then lay the wire in there. And we'll just stick this little guy on a pile of blue tack. I forget which is positive and negative. Okay. The side closest to me is positive. And I always use flux on everything. It just makes life so much easier. I know some people don't like it because they think they have to clean it off, but this isn't an acid-based flux. This isn't like plumbing flux. It's not going to hurt anything by being on there. I'll scrub a little bit off the board or whatever if it's excessive, but normally I don't monkey with it. I just leave it. It's extra protective coating. Sure, it may attract some dirt, whatever. Get over it. So we get a nice puddle in there. Looks like they have some solder on this already. I want to make this a little longer to go in there a little bit further. But even if they come pre-soldered, I like to put solder on them myself. So one of the things they'll do is when they're mass producing wires like this with solder, they just have a vat with melted solder in it and they just dip the tips in there, so it doesn't really saturate the leads a whole lot. That being said, you also want to get in and out with tinning wires. Get them right, but get in and out. You don't want the solder to leach up the wire too far, because then you lose all your bendability, all your pliability. We don't want that to happen either, do we? It's probably going to get too hot to hang on to. We'll see. Then I just slide it up in that hole like that. Hold it for a few seconds till she cools. Boom. The other thing is you don't want to monkey around too much with these the metal parts inside this XT60 while they're hot, because they will move around while that plastic is melted up in there. Jalapeno. But if you can move quickly while the solder's still good and hot, this process is fairly easy. See, that metal got so hot it kept that solder melted for quite a while. And it all bubbled around to the back right there. So we're going to chase that back around. The other thing to do that I forgot to tell you guys that I normally do is plug a dummy lead into the other side of this as a heat sink, because it is hot as hell right now. But normally when I'm soldering these, Whew, I'll pop one in there as a heat sink like that, and then I know which one's positive and negative too. Alright, it's rock solid. That ain't going nowheres. See, just putting that on there, it pulled like all the heat out of this immediately. So it's not scalding my fingers anymore. So, let's get this on there. My dog is gnawing on a bone over there. I don't know if you guys can hear that. And wifey's behind me doing stretches in her tight little yoga pants with her cute little butt. So it's making it very distracting for me.
And shopping.
And shopping on her phone. Her two favorite things. Showing me her butt and shopping. Alright. So, let's get the top here and eyeball up how we want to do these battery leads. So if we got that there, and we got a GoPro sitting on there, I'll get a dummy battery here, one of these old beat up batteries. If we put that battery on like so, and plug it into the side right there. Let's get a dummy prop on here. Do it to the front. And plug it in there. Like that. The way this frame is, I could possibly even toilet tank it. That's mighty close to the prop. Not sure I like that. We got plenty of GoPro room. There's plenty of acreage on here, so I'm not gonna sweat that. I guess that lead's gonna be long enough. As it is, it's gonna be kind of tight. So I don't want it this way, because then that front prop can chop this up. I want to put it this way. Right there's where that is, and then I zippy tie it on there. Or use one of their little battery lead holder things. And then I guess it'll plug in okay right there. Let's give that a go. I guess that's the ticket. All right. I hate going back in and switching things around that don't work out later on. So I like to check everything out and make sure we're good. I got that positive wire up in there a little further than that negative, and that actually worked out pretty well because we're going to go this way with it. And that's the positive side over yonder. So cool. Scooch this stuff out of the way a little bit. And get us a little bit of solder slime. I'll go ahead and smear some. I don't take much. It's enough to attract stuff. Let me I gotta open my little tin here. Get some freshy paste. I'm gonna show you guys a little something else here too that I like to do. So we're gonna go, one wire is gonna go over the other, so we're gonna have to do the positive side first to make it easier, and then the negative is gonna go over the top of that. So we get this tip scrubbed off first of all, nice and clean, and then get us a little bit of flow going. Might need to I am like super anal about my soldering. That dripped through to the other side. I don't know if you guys can see that, but we're gonna chase it back over to the top side. There we go. We got some nice little pillow there. So usually when I solder, I use my magnifying glass so I can see exactly what's going on, but it's attached to my light, which is lighting up my bench here because I don't have like a lot of tech stuff going on. So I am gonna use, this is what I use, is these old man glasses right here when I'm doing videos of soldering and stuff, so I can see. So one thing that we want to do, right, when we're soldering like this, don't just put the wire on top of the pillow and then the soldering iron on top of it and smush it down in there. That makes a big ass mess. What we want to do is we want to melt the puddle first. Get the puddle nice and gooey, and then enter the wire into the puddle. I'm gonna need a little more solder in there for that fat wire. It's probably gonna fall over, but that's okay. All right, it's not quite melted together as much as I like, so and now it all went to the other side again, so we're going to chase it back through and let the wire fall off. Told you. And do that again. Told you I'm super anal about my soldering. I don't want to have to mess with anything later. So once again, we're going to get the puddle melted so we don't make a mess out of the fray and fray up the end of the wire. Then introduce the wire into the puddle. And then you have a nice, neat, solid solder joint. It keeps going through to this other side. That's driving me crazy. I can't have that. Can't have it. I have to pop this board off to do it and hold it with something else because I can't have it running through like that and sagging down on the other side. But you will save yourself a whole lot of headaches later by making sure your solder's right. Yeah, okay. We're not going to keep chasing that back and forth like that. We're going to have to do something to solve that right now. That's better. See? Beautiful. Nice shiny ball. No frays. No little hairs sticking out. Nothing stupid going on. We didn't smash the wire and fan it out all over the place. You know what? I know why we were having such a hard time. I didn't tin the end of that other wire, did I? With new solder. That's why I was giving us such a hard time going together. See, with that one tinned, boom, done. I actually want to go. I don't like using these glasses that much because I got to get right up in here to get them to focus right. Get that just a little more melted together. I'm probably going to totally screw it up now. I should just leave it alone because it's actually really freaking good. But it's not perfect. You hear the dog out there?
I think that's just some guy outside. That's not our dog.
No, she burped. Sent a big old long burp. Actually, she's crabbing at the other dog that's trying to move in on her bone. Alright, that's better. See there? Perfect. Perfect. And you just use your blue tack to pull all that stuff off of there. Inspect the little board to make sure there's no little solder balls or anything touching that's not supposed to be touching. Looks like we're good. Beautiful. Fabulous.
Maybe you walk us outside to pee, right? We are not going outside again.
We're gonna go ahead and tin up these while we got this right here. And yeah, guys, this is in real time. No time lapse. Once you get it going and all the little leads in there are warm, you can just keep it flowing. Boom. So the next thing I want to do, well, we got this right here. We are going to put our we're going to put our capacitor up here on the nose because we got a ton of real estate up here. So we'll strap it down to the nose up here. And that's also where the Crossfire will go, because the air unit is going to take up all that back there. So we got this space down here. So we need a couple of wires. That's twice I did that now. We need a couple of wires for this guy. Here. So we'll dig in the old vat of leftover wires. I suggest, if you're gonna run the cap like that, use at least like 18 gauge, 20 gauge, 20 gauge. 20 gauge is probably the minimum I would use if you're moving the capacitor out away. From the battery. I have no idea what these wires came from. They're pretty dang thick. These are probably 18s. Yeah, these are 18s. That's okay. We will use 18s. So now I'll show you how I do the little capacitor guy, right? This big bar is always going to be the negative side. This is fairly easy. Looks like there's solder on that already. So strip off this end. The old trusty teeth. And all I do is wrap a little bit of this around the pole, like so. Nice and tight. And slide it up, right? Where's our trusty blue goo? Back up. Coaches, you just put it on the wrong side. That would have been a nice surprise when that baby popped off. So wrap it around the leg, nice and tight. Slide it up. Solder it on. Boom. And clip this off. Pay attention to where that leg flies, so it's not somewhere in your freaking flight stack jumping around or in a magnet in the motor. And then we will slide us a piece of heat shrink on there as soon as we do the other one. There's solder on that already too. Wrap it, slide it. Solder it. And clip it. You also don't want to leave those little pieces of wire laying on the floor to get stuck in your foot in the middle of the night. And then a couple little pieces of heat shrink. I mean, they don't really need to be color coordinated or nothing. Who cares, right? We know which wire is which. That's all that really matters. Hey now. Blue stuff. My little wire I clipped off. Just poke it in there. So we'll clip that off a little tighter. And there's that. I do have a heat gun that I normally use for bigger stuff. When you're just talking a couple little pieces of heat shrink like this, there's no point in firing that thing up. Right? This video's long and boring enough already. Thought you guys watching me monkey with the freaking heating iron thing, gun, blower. Trusty wire scrap bin. Always keep your scraps of wire. They're very handy. Even the motor clippings, I've had to re-extend motor wires more than once. I can tell you that. So it looks like this red wire is about exactly the length we are going to need. Because I'd rather have it a little longer than too short, because it can always bunch up a little bit, but if it's too short, we're screwed. Right? We'll make it just a fuzz shorter, because I don't want too much left up in there. Get rid of that little piece there. We'll keep that one for future use. Due to, let's eyeball this up again. Like due to, oh, we got that there though. The plug, the ESC plug. But I think those will go right on either side of that once we get that down in there. So we're going to solder this to the back side, and probably our battery leads are going to fall off at the same time. Maybe we can get her done without too much hassle. I think what we'll do is brace those up so when they do come loose, they just stay where they are, hopefully. How about that? Once again, make sure positive is positive, negative is negative. I actually need to turn this around so I have the right angle on it. And we're going to try to get in and out of there pretty quick so that we don't melt the battery leads off. Melt the puddle. Introduce the wire. Melt the puddle. Come on. Come on. Melt the puddle. Introduce the wire. This one's giving me a hard time because it's up over that component. I'm gonna smash this one a little bit. So I don't know how else to get it in there. There she goes. Okay, let's inspect everything. Battery wires are still good. Those guys look good. Don't look like we're touching anything we're not supposed to. There. And that will run right through there like so. No problem. Looks good. Looks beautiful. I gotta tell you, I have like above perfect vision. My eyes are like 25, 22 or something crazy like that. So using those glasses gives me a headache. It really messes with me. Like I keep reading, when I go to do the eye test, I keep reading lines down and down and down until they're like, okay, 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 holy shit. Right, honey? I can count the hairs on a frog's chin. Did you know that, honey? You don't know that I can count the hairs on a frog's chin?
I don't know. I know hippos. Stupid.
All right. I hope I'm not boring you guys to death, but I told you I'm going to do the whole thing raw so you can see like every step of the way. So now we got all that sorted. Boom, there's our capacitor. We can strap that down right there behind the camera. Got room for our crossfire right there. Here's our battery lead that will tie up to the pole here. So it has some stress relief. And the battery will go on there and plug right in like so. So I'm pretty happy with that. I think what we're gonna do next is stick down these, I'm just gonna stick one of these down for now. And solder up one motor on camera. And then I'll do the rest off camera. I don't think you guys need to watch me solder every single motor on. I wonder, okay, now, these arms are really easy to replace because they're slotted in the middle. So you just take this screw out and loosen this one and it's gonna slide right out. I wonder when you buy a spare arm if they're gonna give you a spare one of these. Probably gotta order 4 more. Order an arm with 4 of them and then you have spares, right? So we'll do this one here. So I'm gonna come in with the iron this way. And what I do here is make sure my wires are straight. That's gonna be my outside wire there. So, crap, I need the little glasses again. This is why I'm gonna do the rest off camera so I can use my actual big ass magnifying glass that I use to see the soldering joints so I don't get a pounding headache from these glasses. Plus you guys don't need to see all that. So I'm gonna lay that down in there, and I always like to give them just a little bit of slack, right? So this one, what I do is go past the little pad and then mark it with my fingernail. That's the little mark right there. So we're gonna clip that off. Always make them a little longer. You can always shorten them up. When you gotta put a freaking piece of heat shrink in there, and that shit sucks. Because you're gonna have to go all the way back here to do it if you gotta extend the wire. And me being super OCD, it really messes with my head when I gotta do something like that. I will actually end up going all the way back and desoldering the wire and putting a whole new one on. Just because I'm so freaking anal about it. But I don't have builds fail when I'm flying. So I really take my time on builds, guys. Like, if I wasn't doing this in a video, this would take me a freaking week. Because I'll just do it one little step by one little step away from it, make sure everything's perfect, fly the quads I already have built. That's why I always tell everybody to build like 2 or 3, so that you're not stressed doing another build to get in the air. Right? I may have clipped that last one incorrectly because it seems a little too long. Yeah, it'll be all right. So we'll tin up these wires, solder this motor on, and then we're gonna take a break and I'll get all shit. Somebody made a noise outside. God forbid that other people live on this planet, dogs. So once again, with these, it's the same thing. I'm gonna bend a little hook in here so I can get it to go down in there nice and neat. And I'll heat up the puddle and then introduce the wire, and then you end up with a nice neat little solder ball. No spare solder, no splatters, no mess. Bend the wire down a little bit so that it'll go in there. Melt the puddle. Stick in the wire. Last one. Melt the puddle. Stick in the wire. So now you can see there's not any extra solder. They're just melted into there perfectly. Normally I get them perfect little freaking balls on there, but that is like never ever going anywhere. All right, so let me get the rest of these motors soldered up and then we'll be back. Okay, so there is our motors all soldered up nice and neat. Jalapeno. I shoved my Crossfire build antenna in there like so. I did a little video on how I make these little antennas on my channel. I'll try to remember to put the link below. I don't know how to do the little card in the corner thing. Maybe I'll try to do that. So if you see it pop up right now, then I figured it out. Because like I said, I shoot these videos raw. I'm not like I don't like advertise and stuff like that, so I'm not real good with all that stuff. But I'll try to put a card at the end of the video or a link in the description, or if not, just go on my channel and in the little search box type in Crossfire antenna and it should come up. But anyway, there it is. You can see the one I did with the glasses, and then the ones I was able to do with my big magnifying glass because they're nice and neat. Anyway, all that being said, now we're gonna put the old Crossfire on there while the soldering iron's still hot, and then that's gonna be it for the soldering. The rest of the build is gonna be straightforward. Just stick it together. Jeez. Oh, this is a this is one with an Immortal T. I think I ordered these because they were out of the rest of them. If I remember right. Out of the normal ones, I normally don't order them with the Immortal T. I only use the Immortal T usually on a racer, and I don't have any racers. Now, a lot of guys were saying they had problems getting this little silicone piece off, and they were tearing their things off. We're gonna make sure all that little silicone's broken loose first. I guess just spin it around like this until we're sure it's loose. Okay, came right off. I didn't have any problem with that. Everybody's saying the silicone is pulling their foot off of the UFL. Didn't happen for me. So that's a good thing. Little silicone around on there. So an interesting thing I found here. One of the reasons I've been looking for a simpler board is because of my OCD. Like, we're not going to use any of these other freaking pins. All we're going to do is solder on the Crossfire and we're done. Plug in the DJI and mount the stuff up on the frame and we're done. But anyway, the card fell on the ground. Little interesting thing I found here. I'll try to zoom in on this so you guys can see. It says to hook the receiver up over here, and then there's this little breakout here for these three pads to the inside, and it says TX1 here, but it also says TX here. But then in this little subscript, it says RX. So I'm not sure if this inside pad is RX or if that outside pad is RX. I'm sure it'd be super easy to figure out because it doesn't matter if you solder the RX and TX backwards. It's not going to hurt anything. You can just swap the wires. But I'm not even going to use that. I'm just going to use the 4 on the back here that are in a line because they'll be right in line with the Crossfire. And then I can just run the wires. This board will go on like that. That is the back. And then I'll just run the wires between the boards to put the Crossfire up here. Nice and simple. So let's go ahead and get our Crossfire set up and rock and roll. All right, so here we go for our first initial power up. Let's see if we get any smoke. No smoke. Looks dang good. Nice, neat build. So now all we got to do is stick this here air unit on there and put the freaking top on. And we're basically done. Rock and roll, baby. Then we take her to the computer and program her. So I can shut off my soldering iron for now. So the heat gun's still blasting in the background. Always use a heat gun on this heat shrink. I mean, you can try to use a lighter, but you better be real diligent with it or you're gonna melt a hole in it for sure. Hair dryer or something like that if you don't have an actual heat gun. Because once it hits its temperature, it goes quick and you will melt a hole in it. I guarantee you, by God. All right, so with this air unit here, we don't want the control link. So we're gonna go ahead and pop that out, which is gonna be this end yeller wire right here. The one next to it is another ground. I'm not gonna bother with that. Doesn't matter if there's extra ground. So I use my little booger pickers right here. Just lift up that little tab. You can use the edge of a razor blade or whatever, but these work good for me. Get that thing out of there. Because we're using the Crossfire control link. We don't need the DJI S-Bus control link. Which one is it? I can't see. This one? Let's see here. 1, 2, 1, 2. I think it's this one. It's really hard to tell. Which tab it is, I can tell you that. I guess I could just clip it off, but my OCD will not allow it. It must come out. It must. There we go. See, now I can use this wire for something else. And that's the end of that. Put that in my wire stash over yonder. Plug this guy back into the air unit. And then I'm gonna run this underneath here because it has little lips on the bottom of this bracket. Keep it nice and neat. That's why I did the Crossfire here instead of over on the side like it says. So there's no wires hanging out of the side. That way everything's nice and neat in here. There's nothing to get snagged on a branch or scraggle or prop or saber-toothed chicken or anything like that. That's gonna go there. I was gonna run this wire underneath this board, but I have the Crossfire wires under there now. So I don't want to take up too much of the underneath room. And actually, I want to move these Crossfire wires to the other side of this plug. because the chip is over here, so I'm gonna run the wires in that little groove right there to ensure they're not like getting pinched or anything. I guess I could put my little shield on here too, right? I forgot about the little shield. I don't know if it'll do any good or whatever, but why not? We have it. Let's use it. Couldn't hurt. Damn sure ain't adding any weight. Like throwing a feather on a dump truck. There we go. See, now I'll just zippy tie these guys down in the nose right here. They'll be nice and neat and out of the way. Zippy tie or just a little piece of even a little piece of double-sided tape. Why is that looking funky? I don't know. Be alright. Be alright. Now we plug this guy in here. And that should be good to go. We need to give these wires a couple twists so that they stay neat. They aren't hanging out anywhere. That's how the pros do it. You twirl the wires, man. And then you post a bunch of pictures on social media of your twisted wires and how cool your wires look. Because they're going to look really cool when you're flying through the air if you have purdy wires. See, I'm not too sure. Is that going to reach comfortably? I guess there's a little. I guess it's okay. I'm gonna have to fish around for some screws to this dang DJI camera. I guess now would be a good time to go ahead and put our back standoffs on. Ooh. So what have we here? These are sixes. How many sixes do we have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 2, 4, 6, 8. So they give us 2 spares. We'll use the sixes, it looks like, for mounting. Also, we use the mounting kit out of the Mamba board, but in the frame is also some mounting hardware with some little plastic spacers and little M2 nuts, M3 nuts. So you have options if needed. Anyway, let's get these out. Still got those M9s over there. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do with those because I don't really have any M9s. So I don't have like a storage spot for M9s from the motors. Okay. Get these bad boys on there. So we can slide this on there. And make sure everything's gonna be kosher. I may want to, I don't know. Now is the time we're gonna have to refer back to our trusty instructions. Look at that, that's pretty cool. To see which, I'm sure I can figure it out. This is gonna be a little on the tedious difficult side. I can see that already. To get these front screws in this air unit mount, probably gonna be these longer ones right here, M8s. It's gonna have to be. I mean, there's some 6s here. There's only 3 of them. Maybe those will work. Let's try these M2s, because it's definitely a M2 hole, as we can see right there. And there's some extra, like you can do the Vista here, and I'm not sure what the other 4 are for. Maybe if you're gonna mount boards side by side instead of stacked. If you're gonna do a, like you could do, no, you couldn't do a low rider build because of this. It has to stay the same height. But you could do side by side boards and make everything flat and stretched out. The advantage to doing the side by side boards, like if you did your ESC here and flight controller here and then VTX back here, is that everything is accessible. You don't have to unstack anything. I used to build like that all the time when I was flying. Well, I still fly analog now and then, but when I was strictly flying analog, that's how I used to build my slams. Because then all you had to do was take the top plate off and every one of your boards was accessible. Made it real easy for repairs and stuff. So let's see if these M6s are going to be long enough to reach up through here, first of all. And then somehow I'm going to have to figure out how to get my fat fingers down in there to get a nut on it. Gotta get me a nut. Gotta get me a nut, boys. Is it threading in there? I can't really tell. I can't see the hole. That's what she said. Somebody's buzzing my phone. They're just gonna have to wait till it's my convenience. I knew this was going to be a bit of a hassle. I'll tell you what. And it kind of has to go like that, because if I mount these in, I guess if I mounted them in first, I could squish that air unit in there somehow. Like, but I should be able to get those in there. I can see that these are, no, not really. Here, hold on. Let me pull down the big magnifying glass. Let's see what's happening here. Okay, that's in the hole. There it goes. There she goes. Okay, it kind of threaded in there and held. And it does look like that hole is a bit nut shaped. Oh, gotta kill me. It's fucking nut shaped. So let's see if we can get one of these little teeny nuts down in there without like dropping it on the floor somewhere and losing it completely. And screwed down in there. Somehow I'm gonna have to push it down. Like, I think I should have mushed the nuts into the holes first before I put it on here. Would have been the ticket. But if we can get the screw to grab it, down in there, we'll be all right. Oh, it's crooked. Cross thread it. I think the ticket would have definitely been to squish these down in there first. Maybe, let me back this out a little bit so it's not impeding on the nut. Oh, let's see if I can Maybe using it. Is it still sticking in the hole? It is still sticking in the hole. Let's get that back on there. Maybe use my chopstick. And hold it. Oh boy. Oh boy. Did not succeed there. Alright, we need to back this thing out of there a little bit somehow. Just push it out. Possibly, even though it's threaded in there. Oh boy, you guys bored yet? Watching me fiddle with this shit? Okay, now it is backed out of that pocket. And we'll see if we can smush the nut into the pocket first. And then, I know there's going to be somebody pop up in this video that already built one of these. That's going to be like, you dumbass, you should have just... Yeah, see, that's the ticket. You smush it down in there first. And I'm going to get all kinds of cool advice that I should have had before I started. Thanks, guys, you fuckers. Haha. Just kidding. That's the ticket right there. That is the ticket right there. So now this is just a little plastic nut and TPU, so we don't need to gorilla down on it and pull the damn thing through and strip the little mini fucking nut out. Mini nut. Let's get another mini nut. Come here. Kimmy? I should make these like tall so you can grab them. Like a standoff. That's what I could have used. I have some little M2 standoffs. Probably would have been a lot easier. I'm trying to stick these little teeny freaking nuts in there. Get back over there. Why you sweating me, dog? Why you sweating me, dog? Okay, so we gotta hold that so it doesn't pop out. Get over there. Well, first one went in a piece of cake. This one, where'd it go? This one is killing me. Here, let's pull it out here and do that. I'll get some freaking pliers on your ass. See how you like that? There we go. How you like me now? Looks like it's flat and even, I reckon. Scooch that back in there. I'm gonna peek down in there. There's the hole lined up right there. As I beat the hell out of the camera. Hold her steady. See if she goes. Looks like it's going. Or not. Success. All right. So, note, if you're going to use this thing, smush your little nuts in there before you even put the damn thing on the quad. Save yourself a whole bunch of monkeying around. Guys, that is it. That is the build. All we got to do is put some camera screws in and put the top plate on. Alright, there she is in all her glory. I did go with the included GoPro mount because, like I said, I want you guys to have the same experience if you look at this build video and decide to get one. Now that I've put one together, I can put one together in easily half the time without any issues. So the only thing I really changed was the antenna here. Instead of using the included mount, I guess maybe a GPS can fit in there or whatever if you're going to use the included mount. But I didn't see any reason to put all that extra weight on there just for a Crossfire antenna, because she is a porker. With the props and everything, she's coming in at like 680. That's like 50, 60 grams heavier than I like to build a quad. So if I built another one, I would obviously use the Vista instead of the air unit, get rid of this TPU, use a different mounting system here to lighten this up, which I'll probably change later, but I want to fly it as is so you guys can check it out, so I can check it out, so we all know what's up. But there's a ton of ways I could lighten this up. There's also an awful lot of freaking real estate here. I mean, they could have shifted the arms back and shrunk this whole frame down by a freaking inch or two. I mean, I don't know, are guys putting 2200 batteries on here? Or what's going on with that? Because there is a freaking ton of room on there. Like the way that GoPro mounts there, this could have came up and all this could have shifted back. They could have lost a few inches in there. I understand they got the nose sticking out there to try to keep the props out of view, but maybe if this holds up, I'm gonna fly the absolute shit out of this, you guys, and let you know how it holds up. And if it does, I'm gonna get one of the smaller ones. They make, this is the 236, so they make the 218, I believe it is. So I'm sure that is gonna be a lot lighter, and I can lighten this build up a lot, because I really do like the quality and the way this came together for sure. So we will take it out there. Like I said, with this GoPro mount, you can see it, even though I cranked down on that nut, I'm not real happy with that. There is camera increments on there. That's pretty cool. Also, the cable for the air unit is stretched pretty freaking close. So if they did make this frame just a fuzz smaller to lose a little bit of that weight, it would also take a little stress off the off that wire. And keep in mind, I didn't use the little protection that came with it, or these little side fins that go on here, or the little cage that's supposed to go around the stack, or the little thing on the back. So it would have been like 700 grams, but you know, if that's what you guys like, that's fine. I'm used to a certain weight, like around 620, 640 is where I like to be at. Gives me the perfect chuck over trees and stuff that I'm used to the feel. But we'll see how it goes. You guys stay tuned as I beat the hell out of this and post a few videos about it and let you guys know how it hangs out. Anyway, thanks for hanging out with me through this whole freaking boring video. You guys have a good one. Okay, so we're gonna give her a little hover test here. I do not recommend you maiden and hover test inside your house, but it is, even though it looks nice out there, it is freezing freaking cold out there. So we're gonna do it right here in my little gym area. Well, there's nothing it can really hurt, and it's got the rubber mat, and we'll nice and easy check pitch and roll and everything before we just kind of bounce it off the ground to make sure it's not going to freak out, so that we can then take it outside and give it a rip, because I don't want to spend too much time out there because it is freezing freaking cold. And I can't just walk out my back door. I live up in the freaking apartment. All right, so anyway, here we go.